mention too, we're going to be passing out a basket if anyone wants to donate. Today you get a bracelet if you donate. So, pass around those. So our main speaker, Mike Weinholtz. Mike Weinholtz and his wife Donna dedicated their lives to making the state a better place for all Utahns. Now he's running for governor to fight back against our one-party system that has harmed so many people. Oh, I forgot to make the caveat. There's an announcement I got to make too, huh? Let me back up. I'll restart. So the announcement is about the Halloween party. We're trying to figure out, it was going to be October 27th. We're thinking of possibly pushing it to October 28th, with which is a Friday. So 27th is Thursday, 28th is a Friday. Is there any preference here? Those who are likely to attend, for whom would it work better on a Thursday? Raise your hands. Okay, those who are likely to attend, who would it work better on Friday? Well, I guess that's an easy answer. So the idea is we're going to have kind of the family get-together thing until 8 or 9.
Right, probably 6 to 8, and around when most kids, 8:30, and then just we'll filter out, and then everyone else can go to a more, we haven't gotten a place yet, but we're thinking we'll do an adult, more oriented after party. So take kids home, get a sitter, come back, whatever.
Okay, so sound good to everybody? Okay, so I forgot also my caveat here. We do have a political guest today. As an organization, we have 501c3 status. We do not endorse any particular party. We don't campaign. I'm not going to say, go vote, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian. So with that caveat, we do have a candidate for governor, and this is great. I'm so glad to have him. Mike is a third-generation factory worker until he's nearly 30, when he put himself through night school, graduating with degrees in business administration and management. Then 2 decades ago, he joined what grew into CHG Healthcare. Under his leadership, CHG has become the largest provider of temporary physician staffing services in the U.S. and is an industry leader with over $1 billion in annual revenue and more than 2,000 employees. So Mike was named CEO of the Year by Utah Business Magazine in 2014. He credits his business success to his unique, values-driven approach to leadership of putting people first. CHG has been listed on Fortune's 100 Best Companies to Work for the last 7 years in a row, and is the best workplace for women and millennials. CHG has also been named the #1 workplace in Utah by Salt Lake Tribune and one of the 100 fastest growing companies in Utah by Mountain West Venture Group. So in addition to his corporate experience managing large organizations and big budgets, Mike has served on the board of directors for various nonprofits, including the United Way of Salt Lake, the ACLU, and the Women's Leadership Institute of Utah. He received his Bachelor's of Science in Management from, I'm going to get this name wrong, Canisius College, Buffalo, New York, and a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration from Eckerd College in St. Petersburg, Florida. Mike is rejecting all corporate money to his campaign because he believes we need to get big money out of politics. He's passionately committed to improving our schools, cleaning up our air and water, making sure all Utah families have adequate health care, and becoming stewards for our public lands. Everybody give it up for Mike Weinholtz.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? You guys can hear me in the back okay? Good. Well, that was such a thorough introduction. I feel like we can go right to Q&A now. I don't have anything else to say about myself. But, no, not really. Really thank you for the opportunity to speak with you guys today. I met Jeff at the Provo Pride Festival, and he was telling me about your organization, and I'm embarrassed to tell you I hadn't heard about it. But once he began to tell me about it, and I did a little research on my own, I probably need to be a member because I share a lot of the values that you have, including those that are listed on the board she wanted me to talk about politics. Maybe we'll leave that for the Q&A. But, so as Jeff said, my family and I moved here about 20 years ago for a business opportunity. And we just fell in love with Utah and decided we wanted to make it our permanent home. In some part because we became a family here in Utah. You know, I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, moved around the country for business before settling here 20 years ago. But one of the reasons that my family and I feel as much like native Utahns as anyone is because we became a family here. When we moved here, it was the early years of our marriage. Our son was only about a year old when we moved here, so this is the only home he's ever known. And as those of you who have children know, that makes where you live a very special place, where you raise your family. And so Utah became a very special place for us, and we spent the last 20 years really living our core value of giving back to the community. My wife and I have served on various nonprofit boards and been involved in giving back to the community through many areas: board service, community service, philanthropy, activism, about things that we think are really important. And as Jeff said, the company that we moved here for was a company called Health when we acquired it in 1997. It was about a mid-sized company, about $75 million in annual revenue. And over the last 20 years, we grew it to a $1 billion company. And it's the largest provider of temporary physician staffing services in the United States. We work in all 50 states. And what the business does is it provides doctors to hospitals and clinics when they are short of staff. So if they have doctors on maternity leave or vacation or sabbatical, they turn to us and we provide temporary doctors for them so that they can continue to see patients. We're used in all 50 states, but we're used a lot in rural areas that have difficulty finding their own full-time doctors. And so in many cases, the doctors that we provide to these communities provide health care that wouldn't be provided at all if it were not for our doctors. So it's very easy for the people who work for our company to feel like our business is making a difference in the world. And that's something that is a core value that is important to our business and something that our people rally around. I suppose if we were, making plastic bottles or something, it might not be as easy to feel like you're making a difference in the world. In fact, my environmentalist son would tell you that these are evil and that they're going to destroy the planet. But so we've run our business on a couple of core values. One is called putting people first, and that's a very unusual way to run a business. And it actually means that we put the needs of our people even before the company profits. So we put people before profits. And I used to talk about this at business conferences, and people would look at me like I was absolutely insane. So I stopped doing those speeches. And I thought, okay, I'm going to keep the secret sauce to myself. But guess what happened when we put people before profits? We created the most profitable company in our industry, because when you treat people with respect and dignity and make them feel valued and appreciated and important, and give them a voice, they become more engaged and they become more motivated and they want to bring their best selves to work every day. And so what started out as my desire to create a company where people wanted to work and we could have a great culture became a really powerful business strategy, is putting people first. And it allowed us to be the leader in our industry. We outperform everybody in our industry by about 3 times. We're 3 or 4 times the size of our next largest competitor. And we built this through this core value of putting people first. And, it may have started out, people, say to me, why did you do this? Why did you instill this started that way, but it really developed into a very powerful business strategy. And so it's the other two, there are several core values that we run the business on, but a couple of the other major ones that I think are consistent with, at least what I understand the values of your organization to be, in addition to putting people first. One is called, sorry, it's early in the morning. One is called servant leadership, and I teach a course on servant leadership. And what it means essentially is it's not autocratic leadership. You're judged by your success as a leader by how your team is doing, how your people are doing. And it's a very unique culture because we have people come to our company who are used to really, cutthroat kind of cultures in business, and you have to step on the throat of the person in front of you to advance. And none of that happens in our business. And I personally teach the course in servant leadership that every one of our leaders has to go through. And the premise again is that you're judged as a leader by how you help your people succeed, not by what you do. And then if you help the people on your team succeed, that's a reflection on you, and then you get your next promotion opportunity or expanded opportunity. And that's something not all leaders can embrace that. If you come from a command and control kind of leadership company or style, and you come to our company, you're probably not going to make it as a leader. And we do a good job of recruiting for culture first and skill set second, but occasionally we miss people, and we have a very low leadership turnover ratio. It's only about 5% of our leaders do we lose in turnover, and I can tell you because I conduct the exit interviews and get involved with our leaders, that just about every one of that 5% who doesn't make it in our company doesn't make it because they don't embrace the culture and they can't be servant leaders, not because they're not brilliant, talented, or experienced. We put culture above everything else in our company. If you're not a cultural fit, you're not going to be a fit for our company, even if you're a rock star salesperson or IT engineer or any of those things. Everybody in the company is expected to live this positive culture. And we've been recognized for it. Fortune magazine has named us one of the best companies to work in America for the last 7 years in a row, based on this culture. And it's an award that you receive by your people filling out a survey, your people telling Fortune what a great company we are, not us trying to convince Fortune, through writing or other methods that we're this great company. So we're really proud of the fact that our people think we're a great place to work. Another reason this has been such a powerful business strategy is we have the lowest turnover in our industry. As you might imagine, we take great care of our people so they won't stay. And one of the advantages of having low turnover, of course, is you have more experienced people sitting in the seats competing every day. So most of our competitors turn over half of their people every year. They have almost a 50% turnover rate. Ours is below 20. So we're competing every day with people that are in the seats longer, have more experience against competitors who have to have new people trained every day. It's one of the keys to our success. Another aspect of that our company follows is something called corporate or conscious capitalism. And conscious capitalism is the theory, and there's actually a website, an organization called consciouscapitalism.org. And the theory of conscious capitalism is that you can actually use business to do good in the world, not just to make money. So there's always been this argument. Famous economist Milton Friedman said that the only purpose of corporations is to make money for their shareholders. And that's beginning to change in America and other places in the world now, where employers realize that their people want more than that. They want to make it. They want to feel like their job makes a difference to them personally and makes a difference in the world. And so that's another thing that we've embraced. And servant leadership, one of the tenets of servant leadership is to be a servant leader, you have to have humility. And this is something that CEOs struggle with. And not many CEOs have humility. Most of them have big egos and can be autocratic. But you're seeing more and more now CEOs understanding that they have to have, humility. And one of the best contrasts that I can think of in terms of understanding humility. GE is known for really kind of being a CEO mill, because they have great leadership training. But particularly when Jack Welch was the CEO there, everybody knew that Jack wasn't going anyplace. So if you were coming up in the organization and you wanted to be the CEO someday, you had to leave GE. And so lots of companies hired rising executives from GE to be CEOs at their place. So one of those was a guy named Bob Nardelli. And Bob was a rising star at GE, but had his own ego and aspirations of wanting to be a CEO. And so he left GE, and he was hired to be the CEO of a little company in America called Home Depot. And so Bob was one of these guys, though, who didn't have a lot of humility. In fact, he had his own PR firm. And so when he got the Home Depot job, he put his PR firm to work, and his face was on the cover of every business magazine in the country, and even some non-business magazines like Time Magazine, because Home Depot is such an iconic American company. And he didn't subscribe to servant leadership. He wasn't involved in those kind of things. He was involved in the more traditional kind of corporate leadership that involved, the strategy and execution and all of those things that most corporate leaders focus on. And so anyway, it took him about 18 months to drive Home Depot into bankruptcy as a result of this lack of humility, lack of building a positive culture. And then after that, he got a job as a CEO of Chrysler. So he went to, again, his PR firm went to work, and he got the job at Chrysler, put his picture on the cover of every business magazine in America. This time it took him about 24 months to run Chrysler into bankruptcy. And then ironically, the investment firm that hired him to be the CEO of Chrysler then put them on their advisory board to train other CEOs. To do what? To fail dramatically in great companies. But this shows the uniqueness of this, because this is how most CEOs are. This shows the uniqueness of this approach to humility and servant leadership. The other side of the coin is a guy named Herb Kelleher, who was the founder and the CEO of Southwest Airlines. And Herb's philosophy was putting people first, and studying him is what inspired my approach to business. And and when Herb took Southwest Airlines public, there was an interview that he did for a business magazine, and they asked him what was the most important thing that he focused on. And he said, making sure that we have great people that are happy and motivated and have employee satisfaction. And everybody on Wall Street was, aghast over this, because if you're a public company CEO, every answer that you give has to have the term shareholder value in it. But what Herb said was, look, if you have happy, motivated, satisfied employees, they are going to deliver the best service in the industry, and then you're going to have the best performance in the industry. So where most companies put their customers first, or at least have that slogan, in Herb's case, he put them third, and he created the most profitable airline in the history of the airline industry as a result. So there is more, there is more emphasis on this style of leadership, and I guest lecture several times a year at the University of Utah in the business school, and I can see that the students there are really hungry for this kind of approach. They're not taught culture building and servant leadership. They're taught the more traditional business kind of thing. So, but it's a very powerful way to live your life. business. And while I'm not going to get too political, it also is what inspired me to run for governor, because I think that putting this, just like in business where I put people before profits, the approach I'd like to take in government is to put people before politics, because far too often the opposite is what happens. You see politicians, put their finger in the air and take the temperature of, well, if I make this decision, will I have to pay a political price for it? Or if I make that decision, will it hinder my getting reelected? And they very rarely put the interest of the people first. And you can see this in polls where the majority of Utahns favor this, and our politicians don't listen. And so knowing this power of giving people a voice, and giving people an opportunity to be involved in business or in politics, and knowing how powerful that is, that was one of the reasons that motivated me to run for governor, because I know how powerful this model is of putting people first. And as I've traveled the state as a candidate, I hear over and over from Democrats, Republicans, independents, unaffiliated, that they feel like their voice is not being heard, unless you can write a big check to be a political contributor or can hire a lobbyist. Everyday Utahns feel like they don't have a voice. And that's the reason I decided to run, because I know how powerful it is when you give people a voice, the better outcomes that you get instead of making decisions in a vacuum. So anyway, that's kind of my background and how I've run my life and my business, and been blessed to be, have a very successful business career. But as Jeff mentioned, I started out in a very different place. I was a third-generation factory worker. It took me 8 years to work my way through night school, taking one course at a time while I was working full-time. But it taught me, how important education was. I wouldn't be here today without that education. It's what took me from the factory floor to the boardroom. And so education is one of the things that I think is really important here in Utah, one of the things I wanted to fight for. But at this point, I think I've probably gone far enough, and I'm being timed over here, and we'll be happy to open it up to questions at this point. Yes?
Would you tell us again, what is your business and what do you do?
Sure. So the business that I founded today is called CHG Healthcare Services, and it's a big temporary staffing company for mostly doctors, but also nurses. But it's CHG Healthcare. It's been headquartered here in Utah for over 30 years. I acquired it in 1997 and been running it since then. I actually retired from the day-to-day business and went for government. I'm still the chairman of the board of directors, but we went through a very formal succession planning to make a new CEO who believes in the same culture that I did, so that our people didn't get whiplash when we brought in someone new. And so it's CHG Healthcare, and it's in Salt Lake City. It was actually founded as an incubator company at the University of Utah. It was founded by a physician who was in the residency program at the U, and he saw a need to bring physician services to rural areas of Utah who didn't have their own physicians. And he saw there was such a need for that he actually never practiced medicine. He got the entrepreneurial log and he started this company. The company itself has deep Utah roots as an area of residence. Yes?
What was the name you called it? Something capitalism? I forgot the first word.
Conscious Capitalism.
Conscious capitalism.
Uh-huh.
Do you feel
That's
that's
consciouscapitalism.org.
catching on with anybody anywhere? I mean, what do you think would make it catch on?
Well, in business, business people usually don't pay attention until they see outstanding performance. And what's happening, these companies that practice conscious capitalism, like CHG, we don't just, bliss out and, say, what a great company we have. And, we're also very successful. So once other companies began to see, that, running the business with these kind of core values that put people first and stress being a good corporate citizen and being a good stakeholder in the community, that those companies succeed. And in fact, Fortune magazine, every year when they name their 100 best companies to work for, they take the list of those companies that are publicly traded companies, and every year, this doesn't fail, the companies that are on, the publicly traded companies that are on the list of 100 best companies to work for in America outperform their competitors by like 4 to 1. So having this positive culture is now being viewed as a smart business move, not just some altruistic thing that you know hippie CEOs want to do.
A lot of the tech companies do things like that, right?
They do. Yeah, they call it. You know, it started to catch on a lot. Yeah. You know, Whole Foods. The Whole Foods CEO is one of the founders of Conscious Capitalism. He's written books on it. And, but people really respond to that. You know, people are tired of just showing up for a job, either for a paycheck or to make the owners of the company richer. They feel like if they can make a difference in the world, or at least in their community, that gives them much more job satisfaction. And particularly millennials are really more interested in job satisfaction, personal development opportunities, working for a company that makes a difference in their community. And that's one of the reasons we were also named by Fortune as one of the best companies to work for in America for millennials as well.
So what are your polling numbers?
Our polling numbers? I thought we were going to talk politics.
So you were going to talk politics.
We haven't seen any recent polls. The latest ones were about a month ago. We're polling more, as a first-time candidate, with little name recognition. We're polling more on messaging and what voters relate to, and words and those sorts of language and those sorts of things. The last poll I saw, I was still about 30 points behind.
Even after the debate, which
Well,
you
there
did right
haven't.
away?
Thank you. There haven't been any polls done since the debate. Now the online, the Utah Debate Commission, did an online poll, kind of right after the debate, and the people who watched the debate and participated in those polls said it was 87% of the people who watched said that I won the debate, and 13% said that Herb won the debate. But I don't know how much it's going to move things. We all know that being a Democrat in the reddest state in the country is always a steep climb. I knew that when I signed up. One of the core values I took from being a factory worker, and in many ways I still think of myself as a blue collar kid from Buffalo, because that's where my values were formed. But you learn to embrace being the underdog when you start out. As a factory worker, you have to work your way through school, fight your way through business with competitors that have Harvard MBAs and all that kind of stuff. And so I've always embraced being the underdog, and you have to if you're going to be a Democrat in Utah.
Well, at least you won't get anybody going in this year and going straight Republican ticket. Not too many anyway.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, and the distaste for that many Utahns have for him is going to create a situation this year where fewer people do vote straight ticket. And we're only one of like 4 or 5 states that even have straight ticket voting. The Democrats in the legislature bring it up every year, but there aren't enough of them to get any traction on it. So.
If I could chime in, I think this year there's been a lot of movement. I actually am running for office as well myself.
Yeah.
And being in Utah County, I do a lot of groundwork
Republican. There's a huge swath of independents and undecideds, and frankly, in Utah, a lot of them lean right. But still, there aren't as many Republicans here as people think. And so it is a question of getting to those independents and getting voter turnout. And as Rachel said, we're having different kinds of conversations when we knock on doors this year. It's about, common values, because you start, very often, in our country as well as in our state, things have gotten so partisan and so ugly to the point where it used to be you just disagreed with your political opponent, but now you call your political opponent evil, and it's sad, and it's.
And there's no argument.
Right. So what we're doing to try to get past that, you walk up to, often you walk up to a Republican door and knock on it, and they find out you're a Democrat, and they say, get your evil Democrat butt off of my front porch. So we're trying to start conversations about common values, and that requires a different kind of training of our field staff. But it's like, okay, why do you hate Democrats? Well, what's important to you? Family? Well, family's important to us too. And then you start to have these discussions about where we have common interests instead of what our differences are.
Well, and the things you were saying about education in the debate, which I know is where he's going. I think that's important to a lot of people here, is the education issue. So how do you fight that and have them understand? You brought up a bunch of things about money that I don't think you ever got answers to. So how do we, as a group, start bringing that up to make people listen? Because my frustration always gets to the point that we start bringing it up to the legislators that get put into office, and then, one of the corporate donors or theocracy in place shuts it down, and the constituents don't get listened to. So how do we start getting listened to on things like education or family or hate crimes or?
Well, one of the things we have to do is we have to start electing more people who aren't part of the Republican supermajority, so we begin to have balance, people like Rachel. And one of the best places to start is in the governor's office, because that's where the veto pen resides. And the other thing that I would do is, I've lived my whole career about putting people first, as I've said. It's unique for a governor to do, but I would be a proponent of doing ballot initiatives. So to say to the legislature, look, if you aren't going to listen to the people, we're going to do a ballot initiative and show you where the people stand on this, and then you're going to have to start listening to people. Right now, they're so cocky with their supermajority and the gerrymandering that they did to ensure that they have these positions for life, that they feel like they don't have to listen to average Utahns. They only have to listen to their big donors. But once you start convincing everyday Utahns that they can have a voice, and we will make the legislature listen, then they'll speak up more, and then they'll have to respond more. And it's a long game. It's not something that's going to flip overnight. But that's the kind of approach that I think we have to take.
Yeah, I have time for one more question, is all.
Okay.
Well, on education.
Yes.
Okay, one of the most frustrating things that we have to deal with is we are required to give a test that means absolutely nothing. It means nothing for the students, it means nothing for the teachers, it does not count. But we are required to take 2 days out of our teaching to give this test.
Talk about SAGE.
Yeah, it all deals with the Common Core, the SAGE testing.
Yeah.
How are we?
Children have to.
Yeah, the kids know it. I mean,
Sorry, what did you say?
Oh, my children stress about that
Yes.
every year. They're afraid they're gonna get kicked out of school if
Oh,
they don't
it's
have
so-
well enough. It turns out
Yes.
it's every time.
yeah, by the time they get to high school, I have students that can finish this 50, 60, 70 question test to get in 10 minutes. Because they know it does not count on their grades, it does not count against the teacher. How do we get rid of something like that? What is your stance on how to improve the education process and how to get rid of this Common Core silliness that's been going around?
Well, it's interesting because the governor was an early proponent of Common Core, and then when he got political pressure, he flipped on it and said, okay, I don't like it anymore. But as I talk to parents who struggle with it, I think we have to come up with a Utah solution for this. And you know, in my business career, what I did was I brought the right experts, the right diversity of thought around the table, so that you're not just rubber stamping a single ideology or a single thought, so that you have robust discussion and get to the right answer. So I would make sure that we have the right stakeholders, and mostly educators, by the way. I mean, I think in education, you know, one of the things that you may be surprised to learn is even though we say education is our top priority here in Utah, we don't act like it is. You know, we're still dead last in the country in funding. And by the way, another way you can tell it's not a priority, we don't have a 10-year plan for education in our state. We have a 10-year plan for energy, we have a 10-year and 30-year plan for transportation, but we don't have a long-term plan for education. How can that be? So what I would do is, I think the plan should be developed by a team that is a majority of educators. You know, right now, we kind of get things backwards. You know, in fact, the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House here in Utah are actively working to get educators off of the school board.
Which is ridiculous.
You know, because they want businesses to set school policy. If I want somebody to set healthcare policy, I want to talk to doctors and healthcare professionals. If I want someone to set educational policy, I want to talk to educators, teachers, the majority. And we do that backwards here. Some of it is because we have I believe, you know, I'm kind of an expert on positive organizational cultures. I think we have a very negative educational culture where teachers are scapegoated for everything that goes wrong instead of realizing that we're underfunding them, and that's the issue. So I would work to change that culture as well, because you know, teachers deserve to be treated as the professionals that they are, and given the respect. You know, both of my sisters are teachers. One of the things I enjoy most in business is teaching and coaching. So that's a culture that I think that I can begin to fix as well.
I just want to add into that real quick. I think that the funding is a major issue. The policies are a major issue because it pits parents against teachers instead of putting that responsibility where it belongs under government. When you underfund schools in the same areas where you underpay parents, you can't have as many volunteers and everyone has to work 2 jobs. And it means the parents aren't there in schools helping out. The teachers are already being underpaid and everybody has to find out where the problem is or ignoring the initial policies.
Well, thank you all so much. I'll hang around, and if anyone has one-on-one questions, I'm happy to answer them. But it's really a great honor to be here. The more I learn about your organization, the more impressed I am, and feel like I need to join because our values are pretty aligned. Do you have one of some?
Yep. 5 in Utah.
Yeah. But I like you guys now. Why?